Powell, and so I am a staff engineer at Niantic. I work on a team called the Tiger Team, which serves as a liaison between our Lightship ARDK and our platform team that make all the really cool tools that we actually use and get to see in our games. And then the games teams that turn those tools and turn the technology that is being built from the platform team into really cool and creative end user products and game experiences. So a little bit about my background. So I graduated from UNC Charlotte back in 2012 with my PhD, where I did a dissertation on socially pervasive game experiences. It's actually quite funny that my career took me here because I was actually writing about Pokemon and sort of how Pokemon, the franchise, could be something that you take, and this isn't transformative or anything. I think that's the whole point of the Pokemon story and the Pokemon anime and everything, is that it transforms your world into this magical place where Pokemon exists. So I was writing about that back in 2012. Let's see, since then, I got my first job at Xbox, where I was a program manager for a couple of years on the Xbox One team. Yeah, had a lot of fun there, but wanted to get back to games, so started my own company. And then my last stop before actually joining Niantic was where I did a pivot into medical devices, because I got an opportunity to work for a tiny startup that grew into a full-fledged company that was taking AR technology and making it so that surgeons could have superhuman vision, seeing underneath what the patient that was open on the table into their spinal column, into doing having tools for spinal fusion surgery, making them a lot more accurate. So my journey's taken me quite a ways, and now I'm back to games and love games, and I get to work on games all the time. So yeah, that's me. A little bit more about my current role is that I would say it really sort of encompasses these four sort of main points, which is the connection point that I told you about. The Tiger Team is that sort of connection between the platform and games. And so being that point of connection is a vital part of that role. Creation. So when we've got this really cool cutting edge technology that nobody's done anything with, and then they say, hey, what can you do with this? Build something with it. Think about how somebody else might build something with it. So a lot of it is sort of just engaging those sort of creativity synapses and trying to figure out, well, what is the vision? What does this look like before a full product has even been built? Then there's prototyping. Obviously, you're not going to come up with the latest and greatest all at once. You want to prototype, you want to iterate, and you want to iterate rapidly and come up with ways of finding those answers as quickly as possible and refining these answers. And then integration is once a team has figured out what they want to do, is like working with me and my other colleagues of figuring out, well, how do we take this thing and actually pull it into a game that either already exists or a new game. So that's what I do here in a nutshell.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that. And now we're going to go ahead and move on to Emma.
Hi, everyone. My name's Emma. My pronouns are she, her, and I'm an ARUX designer here at Niantic. The ARUX team at Niantic is comprised of both Faithful and Lightship. I'm more on the Lightship side of things. But we work really close in collaboration to make sure that we're forming both our platforms and our games teams on the best ways in which we can utilize AR. A bit about my background. I actually started as an illustrator. I was studying design and illustration, and then I wanted to learn some 3D things, coding. I went on exchange in Europe, stayed, learned game design, coding, fell in love with that, and then did my master's in serious and applied games, which, for those of you who don't know what that is, it's essentially game design without the sole purpose being for entertainment, but to drive some real world behavior for education or learning or a simulation to train people with. So I did my master's in serious and applied games. And in the meantime, I also worked at a startup for serious and applied games. And all of that really helped me learn how to not only design experiences around play, but also to think about how the user is interacting in the real world, where they're coming from, and what kind of actions they take from those prototypes. During this whole time, I discovered Niantic. I knew about Pokemon Go, but I didn't know about what Niantic was really doing. And a big part of Niantic is driving real world behavior and positive actions through social and environmental behavior. So I became super interested in that. Applied to Niantic, was excited to join. My current role here, a lot of what the ARUX team does, we work cross-disciplinarily. We work between a lot of different teams to ensure that our technology and products both evolve both cohesively and decisively. We also are tasked with ideating and finding solutions to pain points within our new technology, and also learning how we can use this in the first place, whether we should, new feature or not. We also work a lot on designing flows and testing with users to figure out the best user experience with AR, which is a pretty hefty problem with new technology. And alongside all of that, I also do a bunch of prototyping. So not only do we come up with proposed solutions, but we go out and we build those solutions and test those with users. So a bit of coding as well. And that is an overview about what I do here.
Sorry for the delay there. I had to find the unmute button. Thank you for that, Emma. Appreciate it. And now we're going to go ahead and move on to Helena.
Great. Hey, everybody. Hey, my name is Helena. I'm a product manager here at Niantic on the Maps developer platform team. So if you're familiar with you being, developing on either Lightship platform or ASWOL platform, you might be familiar with the Lightship Maps, and that's my product that I launched last year and also this year. Cool. So where I'm from Canada. I saw some folks are from Toronto, and that's where I went to high school. So I went to undergrad at University of Waterloo, where I studied mathematics and business, double degree. And after that, I, joined the workforces and really just immersed myself in the tech world. And for me, my curiosity always led me to, what are these emerging technology and how can that help, humans better understand the world around them, and how we can connect physical world with digital worlds, the atoms and bits. So I started one of my earliest role I took was with Fitbit. So I think most of you are familiar with that. Fitbit is something that's is something that's connecting, the people's exercise and fitness behavior in the physical world, but also in a digitize that and makes that available for people to track and to monitor, and also to meet other people who share the same hobby. And then after that, to continue on the thread with connecting atoms with bits, I joined Uber, is solving a ride sharing problems. How do we connect physical cars with a digital demand of ride sharing requests, and how do we do that efficiently at scale and leveraging this map-based experience. And from that, I got to leverage a lot of the cutting edge technology like AI and machine learning to make that doing very, very efficiently. And then continuing on, I learned that, hey, for newer technology to reach more people and to unlock that power, even for earlier technology, that will be a developer platform, because giving developer the power of tools, the right tools and APIs, will really unlock the power of, especially for early stage emerging technology. So I joined Niantic in 2020. And then on the Maps platform, And whereas this is great, I get continue working on maps, and also I get to build things for developers now. Then so my current role, in my current role, a few things, 4 pillars are really important of what I do. So there's several things I do, and really a lot of times I just fill in the gaps on my teams and where it's needed to making sure things get done. But specifically, I define, vision and strategies for my product area. So specifically Maps developer platform. So historically, I've been supporting teams, the main customers are Niantic games like Pokemon Go. And then as the company evolves, I need to think about how do we transition our team and the services to adapt to this 3D map and support more location-based AR experiences. And so I need to define a vision strategy and turn that into a 12-month roadmap and help my team to, execute. In terms of as a product manager, the key thing is I have to lead. I need to learn, be really, really good to lead and influence without authority. I don't have people directly report to me, but I'm accountable for the outcome of a product or for OKRs. So here, then I have to work very closely with my engineering team, design team, and marketing team, partner team, to making sure that people come together, understand what we need to do, and what we need to all do our parts and pull the pieces together. Yeah, and then that leads to the collaboration. Collaboration is really key here, is that I work with, engineering, designs, and marketing, and many other close function people, and they are really the experts in their domains. And for me to bring these people together to bring their expertise, but also apply to new problems, new product area, and achieving the goals, it's really, really fun to bring people from different background, expertise, and sometimes different way of thinking, and bring them together and foster a very fun collaborative environment for my team. And last but not least, the things we do, we need to delight our customers and really just build products that customers want. So we still really closely with our developers and also game team to making sure that their needs we understand their needs, and we also leave the freedom to innovate on their behalf. Great, and that's it.
Great, thank you so much. And then last but not least, we have our final panelist, Gilberto.
Hello, everybody. My name is Gilberto. I'm a developer support engineer at Niantic. I graduated from DigiPen Institute of Technology as a master's in science and computer science. Yeah, a little bit of background. I started off my career at 8talks. It's a telephone software company, basically what handles the software for AT&T and those kind of companies, are how you're getting charged. I started as a software developer engineer, but mostly I was just I noticed I was just putting out fires. It was a lot of support work. Even then, from then I moved into to Amazon at AWS for the tools and SDKs team, and there I was working for a bunch of SDKs. Just that's where I started as a developer support engineer. Sorry. But yeah, I was just giving support to our SDKs on the open source part of AWS. So that was fun. I got to work with a lot of developers mostly. And while it was support, it was still free. So I didn't have anybody shouting at me of why is this not working? That's kind of kept being the case here at Lightship. We still are not yeah, it's still the case here. I get to work with a lot of developers. They're pretty friendly. It's been fun. And yeah, about my current role. My current role is a bit of a mix of roles. It's support, but I also need to have. I'm I would describe it as a high level, depends on, like, some people say higher, some people say low, but it's like a technical level of knowledge that you need in order to get to like where I start to come in, right? I don't most like there's support technical levels. I'm somewhere between the software developers and the support teams. But yeah, most of the role revolves around communication. As you can imagine, when you're trying to give support to people through the screen, you're not seeing what they're saying. So you need to like be really clear on like what you're communicating. The second part is troubleshooting. If problems are easy to find, they will be easy to solve, right? So a lot of the work that I do revolves around how to reproduce these errors, how to figure out what is going on, like reading logs, just sometimes even just guessing. But yeah, it's a lot of that's what I mean by troubleshooting. The second part is user advocacy. So I get to see I get to hear what our users are having problems with or what they want. So it is part of my job to make sure that we are prioritizing these things as we continue to develop our products. And then the last thing is just samples, either writing, understanding, or using samples. A lot of ways, like samples help us mitigate errors, but just showing how things are done, right? It also helps us explain things when somebody's having a problem and hey, I need to get this to work. Then a lot of it's like I build a small sample, a prototype, so that it's a lot easier to explain. Kind of going back to communication, right? Like it's a way to avoid this just miscommunication and problems. Yeah, that's pretty much it on me.
Got it. Thank you so much, Gilberto, and everyone else for giving us a quick overview of your current roles and also how you got there. It's so important to understand that aspect of it. A lot of communication, a lot of collaboration is kind of like the trend that I'm seeing there, and I hope that we'll get some questions regarding that on that. But first, we have a couple questions to start us off in this discussion. The first one is for professionals that are aspiring to enter into your field, what essential skills and experiences do you believe are crucial for success? And we can go in the same order that we presented ourselves. So Evie, if you don't mind starting off.
Yeah, sure. I think it's important, especially to tell software engineers just how communication heavy engineering is. I know it's a hard lesson for a lot of people, especially when it's just like, I just love putting on my headphones and just cranking out code, and that's what I want to do all day, every day. And that gets to be a good part of it, but you also don't overlook the soft skills, the ability to communicate, the ability for written and oral communication, to talk at different levels to different audiences. Those will go a long way, especially when it comes to some of the problem solving that is required for building a technology across teams around the world and building global scale applications. Is a huge cooperation between lots of teams. And your ability to hone in your soft skills as well as the programming skills are going to be something that can distinguish and set you apart as you grow into your career. I think this is especially true for emerging technologies, especially like augmented reality, just simply because there's no blueprint. It's a little different when you're working with a technology that people don't really know what its main utility is going to be, or how it's going to be adopted in the years to come. Is that these ideas and things are coming from a lot of different teams and a lot of different perspectives as we figure out what really takes hold with end users. So that's where I would start.
Awesome, thank you. And then Emma?
Yeah, learn to learn. Everything's changing all the time. Tools are changing, and in the end, it's just a means to an end. So learn to learn new tools really quickly, because that'll help you not only get one step ahead and being able to build the thing, but it'll also make you way better at being able to communicate between teams and different disciplines, which would contribute to what Evie pointed out with soft skills. So learn to learn.
Cool. Helena?
Yeah, so I think in addition to what Evie and Emma already said, communication, like learn to learn, I want to call out like specific for a product manager is customer insights. And it's very interesting to see like, hey, what does customer want? And it has different challenges and uniqueness and opportunities for different type of industries. So on the more mature product, like things that work on Uber, is actually a lot more straightforward. Like I take Uber rides every day. I go on user research trip. I understand, I read a lot of the customer feedback. There's a lot of data out there for me to have a grasp. And then, however, on the more nascent technology like AR, most people haven't, used AR yet or not exposed to AR. And we are actually in a unique company to create that feature, like the future. So it's like we have to anticipate and really take a stand on where the future is going to look like and shape that. And that's something that we have to go a step deeper into, instead of, just say what people telling you what they want, which is one data point, but also really go a step deeper into, hey, what do people need? And how is this new technology solve, existing or fundamental human needs? And how can we shape that happen and leverage the unique strengths of this new AR technology? So coming back to that, what essential skills like for a product manager is the ability to understand customers and also being able to adapt to different type of scenario, type of product, different stages of products. Yeah, hopefully we're more right than wrong over the long term. Yeah.
Awesome, thank you. And Gilberto?
I think for me, well, obviously there's the whole communication part. Like, yeah, that's a big thing when you're trying to help people. But I think for the position specifically, the ability to kind of go from project to project. As support, you don't get a lot of time to work on a single project and like just head down, focus on things. It's mostly work on one thing, then jump to the next, then jump to the next. So just being able to like quickly reset your mindset or like mind frame, it's really important for this type of positions. So yeah.
Awesome, great. Yeah, so I think a common theme there is it's always evolving and you should be ready to evolve, which goes hand in hand with our next question here, which is how can someone better align themselves in their career development with the evolving needs of the AR industry? And we can go reverse order now. So sorry, Gilberto, to put you back on the spot, but we go to you first.
Let's see. I think it goes like, yeah, like it made sense what you said, like it goes with evolving. I think it being a sort of new technology is really important to like keep in touch, like keeping yourself updated with like the trends on the industry. Yeah, I think that would be my advice.
Got it. Yeah, that makes total sense. I feel like it's so hard to sometimes even keep track with the trends in the industry because it's always changing. And then Helena? I think your mic is muted.
Yeah, I think just to address these changes and new things, and sometimes it helps to kind of think from a first principle perspective of what AR is and what AR enables and what the new headset enables. What's the unique power that it has that can do better 10 times, 100 times better than existing alternatives. And then combining that with, what we're trying to solve and problem we're trying to solve. And then for me, particularly product area was maps. And sometimes it can be very overwhelming to say, hey, what's the new like AR maps is going to look like? And what feature we should prioritize. But then if we think from a first principle perspective, knowing that, hey, map is maps, maps still have to do 3 things really well. And, you know, such as telling you where you are, telling you where you need to go, tell you how you get best go from A to B. These are the fundamental problems that we have been trying to solve for many, many generations. And then it kind of provide me a peace of mind saying, okay, with AR, how these are the uniqueness that we can leverage to solve these old problems better. So like coming back from, you know, fundamental questions and looking at this new technology from a more foundational aspect. Yeah.
It's really interesting that you bring up those fundamental questions, because I've not thought about that in that way for maps, because it's always been like point A to point B ever since GPS on your phone became a thing. But when Apple Maps released the red lights and the stop signs in the navigation, it seemed like a whole new world was unlocked for me. So it's really great that, like, as we ask ourselves those basic questions, you can find an additional solution that makes life a little bit easier and more enjoyable.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Emma.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of room to explore not just AR from a technology, but also what kind of experiences AR can afford. And then looking into similar fields and similar approaches to that. And so thinking of pervasive games, for instance, or installations, and what do those look like, even if they aren't in AR, and what kind of needs are they asking of the user? And then think about how that could translate to AR. There's a lot we can learn there that might be quite helpful.
Awesome. Thank you. And then last but not least, Evie.
Yeah, 100% echoing what Emma just said about, like, there's, even though AR is new, it hasn't been done yet. There's been AR adjacent games and experiences that have been built. Then they've been being built since even before computers and computing. And so being able to look at that and get that sort of insight is helpful as well. So looking at games and AR adjacent, I think is a really, really powerful thing. And then I would also add that career development can also be career adjacent. And so for me, one of the things that has really, really helped me stay aligned with extended realities in general are just hackathons, makeathons, expo floors, things of that nature. Because not everything and not every good idea gets funding so that it's like on your app or on your iPhone or something like that. Sometimes they become projects that spin off and go in different directions. Sometimes, you know, and being able to see what starts off as AR within your community, what are the latest and greatest problems that people are trying to solve in applications that people have built off of that problem solving, or new and fun and exciting creative experiences that people might spend, you know, anywhere from 48 hours to like a week building just to see if they can. Those are really, really powerful nuggets of information that you can carry with you for the rest of your career. Thinking about, oh yeah, I saw this one really, really cool experience. You know, what if we did something like that, but take it in this direction instead of that direction? Or it was built 10 years ago before, you know, technology has improved to the point where you can actually build it the right way. So what if we tried building something like that again? Those are places where they really, really helped me gain some insights and some lessons, even though the field and the technology is still so new.
Awesome. Thank you. I'm glad we kind of slowly transitioned our way into problem solving, because that actually is our next question. For your individual roles, your respective roles, what have been the most significant challenges you've encountered in AR development and deployment? But also, how have you addressed these challenges to drive positive outcomes? And we'll do a snake order again and just go right back to you, Evie.
Okay, cool. So, I mean, there are a couple of fun challenges. I would say that the one I'm the most familiar with is whenever you're working with AR or any emerging technology where the user has not really been exposed to it that much before, your user is more often than not a blank slate. They have no idea what to expect or how to engage, and your experience is actually going to tell them and sort of be the sort of calibration for how they think of that technology going forward. And so that puts you in a pretty awkward spot of being able to not only show them the power of what they are about to engage with, but also in this really interesting spot of you have to teach them how to interact with it while simultaneously showing them the capabilities of what it can do and what that experience can afford them. And so adult users are actually not that great at this. It's really, really hard to get that right, because essentially what you're asking them is to adopt the mindset of a child, where it's just like, try this. And, oh, that didn't quite work. Try it again. Try it and change it around. And so with especially my first career job at Microsoft, where I was working on speech, you would ask them to say something and it'd be like, oh yeah, you can say it conversationally. And they might say it and they might bumble a couple of words and it doesn't quite get it the right way. And they're like, okay, so next time I'm just going to back off and say like 2 words instead of this whole string of conversational speech, and then that'll work. And then they'll think that, oh, the technology only allows for 2 words at a time. And it's really hard to get them to calibrate back up again. So I would say that is a very difficult challenge, working with teams like Emma's team, where it's like you start to think about it from a cognitive science point of view of just like how to navigate a person's behavior to sort of align where you want them to be, is going to be critical for being able to find an experience that teaches and drives the industry forward without sort of calibrating the user too far in one direction. So yeah, I'll stop there.
Awesome, thank you. Great transition into Emma, as you have worked with her team. But yeah, Emma, I would love to hear your perspective on this as well.
Yeah, I mean, seconding what you said, I think one of the biggest challenges we face is that we're really establishing new modes of interaction for a user. Like in the case of using BPS, we have to tell the user to navigate via the map, which they are familiar with, navigate via the map, but then navigate to a particular object and then point their phones at that particular object in a specific way to scan it for a specific amount of time to then pull up the AR experience and then to introduce them to how to engage in the AR experience. So it's a lot of like new steps that can be really overwhelming for a user. And so finding ways to minimize the amount of effort we're requiring the user to have, but also means compromising some of the experience. So if you're already overloading them with all of this new tech, perhaps simplifying the experience to being something more familiar to then counteract the cognitive overload from AR. So this is one of the bigger challenges we're facing, and we're still iterating on this, but it really comes down to breaking down the problem and then testing as often as possible with real world users in real world locations, in as many locations as possible, to really uncover any unforeseen challenges, and then communicating with engineering to help us find more smooth solutions for this as well. Yeah,
helpful that the main challenges that you all are facing are very user specific, and that's what you all are thinking about is the final product. That's really great to hear. Helena, would love to hear your thoughts on this question.
Yeah, I think just echoing what they were, you know, it's the uniqueness of building like AR projects. And then for me, product manager, that I'm building the maps, and it's a little bit different from, let's say, building for a good experience or gaming experience, where a product that we wanted to find product market fit that has to lead to solving a utility problems eventually, and really identify their needs, and then kind of accelerate, catalyze the users today to get there. So the key thing is that, you know, a lot of the maps we developed, we wanted to have utilities, but then its best superpower is when we all have AR glasses, but AR glasses is not ubiquitous yet. So what do? Like, there's no way we should just like sit back and wait. And until the glasses are here, that would be too late, right? So we have to think about taking a more gradual approach there, like looking at where the glasses is heading towards and what are the existing glasses today, like such as, some of the, Meta Ray-Ban glasses, right? It's not a full-fledged AR glasses yet, but it has some of the pieces of it. And then like showing that, okay, if, that's a version of AR glasses, how should we design our product to demonstrate value through the ones that are today? And then tying that to the future of the full-on like AR glasses. So it's like taking, gradual approach to lead to the future, but also follow or adapt to where the industry is at and what are the available hardware tools out there to bring it in front of users and to test our hypothesis.
Awesome, thank you. And then lastly, but not least, Gilberto, any additional thoughts here?
Right, so for my respective role, I think like the hardest thing that has come with AR for me is like reproducing problems, right? So it's already kind of hard to reproduce things on a different computer. Now it's a lot harder when it's like location-based problems, right? So we've had a lot of things with BPS, like the mesh is wrong for some reason, and I had to go like to actually reproduce it. I have to go in person to that spot, which is not always, like, it's almost never possible. So like ways to address this have been like kind of like what Evie and Emma were saying, is there are like, sure, this is kind of a new territory, but there are things that you can do that are tested and proven, like the idea here being like, okay, so I need to make sure that the location is a problem, so let's check out all the other boxes, right? So yeah, like try to debug this as any other program, and then once you get to like the new thing, like the location-based problem, you're sure that it's that, right? So then you kind of have to start looking there. But yeah, I think that's like been the biggest challenge, AR-related challenge that I've had in my position.
Got it. Cool. Thank you so much for all of you for sharing. We are approaching that like 11:50 moment, so I wanted to just take some time to remind everyone that if you have questions, either drop them in the chat or in the Q&A, so that way we don't have to kind of wait for you all to type them once we get to that section. But yeah, for these last 3 questions for our panelists, feel free to just raise your hand to answer the question. We're not going to go to all 4 of you. So if you think that you have a good answer for it, just feel free to raise your hand on that front. So next up is, this kind of has been an ongoing topic for all of you, is can you share some insights on how cross-disciplinary collaboration involving fields such as design, engineering, and product management contributes to successful AR projects? And then additionally, how does this collaboration align with achieving broader business objectives?
Well, I can take a first stab.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, I think that cross-disciplinary collaboration in general, when you're really, really close to a problem and you're surrounded by all of the experts in this particular field, and you're doing this day in and day out, your view tends to narrow on how to solve problems. You start to identify these are the key things we need to tackle and things of that nature, which is helpful to build those shortcuts. But I would say that the cross-disciplinary nature of things, of being able to bring in different people with different insights, different walks of life, etc., kind of continually forces that diversity of thought, which is a keystone for creativity. You need those different ideas and those sort of like, oh, left field, like, have you tried this? And it's like, well, no, I never even thought to look at it from this perspective. And that I think grows beyond just, the different sort of orgs and different groups of people within the company to, like, you know, being able to talk to other people at networking events and things of that nature. It's like thinking about what AR means to someone that is in education, or someone that is running a construction site, and would like to provide insight and would like to improve onboarding for their employees. I think that, you know, being able to find yourself in teams like that continually and perpetually, you start to really identify, like, oh, these are areas where we probably should explore a little more, and oh, what an interesting or creative way or a creative spin on this one idea that someone's had. So I guess I'll just start there.
Yeah. Any additional thoughts from anyone else before we move on to the next question?
I think developing with AR also involves a lot of smoke and mirrors. Like, while we can spend a lot of time finding a really refined technical solution to a problem, we found that with timelines for projects, you end up finding like hacky design solutions that might like help cover up some of the issues that you might have with the technology, and it works just fine for the users in the end. And then all of this cross collaboration can help inform how the tech can be evolved, and also help inform engineers on how designers and game designers might be using the product, so that way they can better make the tools suited for them.
Awesome. Great. Thank you. So next question is, from a design perspective, what unique challenges does AR present in creating user-friendly and engaging experiences? And how do these challenges impact the overall success of AR initiative within the organization? So I think we talked a little bit about this earlier on one of the questions when talking about some of the bigger challenges you're facing, but we'd love to hear a little more on this specifically.
Yeah, so I addressed it a little bit in the chat, but I think one of the biggest differences that AR has is that, unlike other traditional mediums or more common mediums where the setting is very consistent, it's on a web page or a 2D app, and you know what factors are going to impact the experience, AR is very inconsistent, and the environment in which it takes place is super fluid. And so from a design perspective, knowing what kind of forces might impact the experience and being able to think ahead and test in those environments. So whether that be weather, that would change the lighting and impact the performance of the application, or times of day, or even crowds, or the amount of space in that location. It's a lot more designing for the real world than just designing the experience itself.
That's really helpful. Thank you, Emma.
I would say, to add to that, like, not only is the sort of design in the medium a lot more sort of fluid and things of that nature, there's also the agency of your user in that experience. So, you know, we're very used to sort of, you know, these experiences where you can put any perspective of the view in front of the player at any given time, because you control the camera. Well, with any extended reality, that is no longer the case. The only way you control the camera is when you break immersion and put something in front of their face, or just turn off the camera in general. So it's a lot about influence. It's that you are not only responding to a living world that has a lot of different content, but if you want them to look at some digital content or some piece of the world, you have to influence them to get to the look in that spot. In VR, I think one of my favorite design questions that we used as like interview question was like, how do you get someone to look behind them? And so it's like, well, yeah, there's a lot of different ways you can do that, from, you know, having an arrow that's sort of pointing off to the side and you just keep doing that until it lines up, to like social influence. If you've got VR characters or virtual characters in a scene that are all looking in a direction, they'll, you know, human curiosity says, I want to look where all the people are looking, you know, and things of that nature. So I think it's a really fun space, but it's a very interesting space, because not only do you want to be able to hone that skill of influence, it's going to be very critical as AR becomes more embedded in our life. You know, the things that we can do with a phone are not going to be the same things, the same pop-ups and the same types of like, oh my gosh, there's something over there across the street, while somebody has a set of glasses that they wear all the time. You can't just sort of inject, look over there right now. You have to be able to anticipate the scene and figure out when is an appropriate place to tell them to look somewhere. All very, very cool and interesting stuff, but definitely a challenge as we navigate that space.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you so much. I'm going to move into some of the participants' questions before we move into our final question in the panel, because it's very future thought. But first off, we have one question asking if you have any advice on finding open source projects or side projects in general to work on. Like, where can someone go to start finding that? If anyone has.
Sorry, I don't think I caught the full question. Could you ask it one more time?
Yeah. Do you all have any advice on finding open source projects or side projects in general to work on?
Open source.
I mean, we do have, I don't know if it's open source, but we do have a lot of samples in both 8wall and Lightship that you can, like, they can help you getting started with it, right? There is, I don't remember his name, but there is a few YouTube videos on like getting started with Lightship. I would recommend. Let me see if I can get you the link actually, and I'll post it on your question.
Yeah, definitely. And on the 8wall side, you can always check out the quick tip videos there. But additionally, on the 8wall Dev Slack, there is a job board where a lot of folks will often post up some freelance gigs that you can kind of take part of, or put your name in the hat to participate in. So yeah, great question. Thank you. We have one addition. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, in addition to those examples, I'm just going to plug Emma's project, as well as a few other people on the team. There's this one new sample that's recently available called Emoji Garden. And so if you're really, really interested in developing these sort of multi-user experiences, especially using like VPS and things of that nature, they've got an end-to-end experience that actually shows how to put that together from beginning to end in the sample using Lightship. So really, really cool, and a great example of how to actually sort of take an AR experience and polish it so that people can understand it.
Awesome. Thank you. And then our next question was from Nikki, but I noticed, Emma, you wrote your answer there. So I'm just going to read the question, and then Emma, if you don't mind, just kind of doing that verbally so everyone else can hear this. But Nikki mentioned, I noticed a lot of everyone's background is post-secondary heavy. I only have a diploma in graphic design and currently learning UX UI on my own. Are there any resources, courses, creators you could recommend that could help me learn fundamental AR skills and tools?
Yeah, so all of my studies was primarily self-taught. Like the classes were mostly theory. And so just working on creating as many prototypes as you can, and then following any relevant tutorials that help you create the results of that prototype is a really great place to start. I think AR specifically, at least from a Lightship standpoint, going through the tutorials are really, really great. I do think having an understanding of Unity and C# already would be really useful before addressing those tutorials, but I think it's a great spot to start. And then I don't know if anyone has specifics on 8wall. I know there are a bunch of samples there that you can dig through as well. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely an ample amount of sample projects and new modules that are being released almost weekly at this point, or monthly, that you all can build into your own projects as we go. Alrighty, so we are approaching, yeah, Joe, literally hundreds of samples on 8wall. We're approaching the end of the event, so I'm going to go ahead and move to our final panel discussion question, which is, looking ahead, what are your personal visions for the future of AR technology, and how do you see it transforming our interactions with the digital and physical world? And I'm going to do a little surprise here and reverse the order all over and go to Helena for the answer on this one first.
Wait, me?
Yeah.
That's
Yes.
not even an order. Okay. I'm glad I get to start this first because I think the first one might be easiest. I see that the future, my personal vision for the future AR is with AR that combined with AI personal assistants, that you have a device that like such as AR glasses that sees what you see, hears what you hear, and gather all the context automatically. And you have an easy way of interacting with the AI assistant to help you understand the world better and help you do your things more efficiently, and having an assistant just like a second nature to you.
Awesome. Thank you. And then Eeny, Meeny, Mo, Emma.
Yeah, I think right now we're still really figuring out the best ways that AR can be used. And I see quite often that we're applying traditional ways of experiencing content, like with VR to AR, so containing it all within a small vignette. But I really see the potential of AR and being more pervasive than that, being larger scale and just integral to our everyday experience outside our house. So my hope is that AR becomes more a tool for us to become more aware of our surroundings again. And rather than looking at our smartphones, we can start to look up and around at our surroundings.
Awesome. And then Gilberto.
Sure. I'm a little bit less visionary in this aspect. I'm mostly focused on games, because that's kind of like what I like. But I do like the idea of like making, there's a lot of AR being like, oh, on your phone, on your screen, you touch things on your phone. But I really like the idea of just having like AR for like tabletops, or like helpful little widgets that can help you with things that we're already doing, right? That's kind of how I see AR. Yeah, I just like to think about like, how can I do this? Like, how can I make more games with AR? And I do think that there's going to be more things coming up.
Awesome. And then last but not least, Evie.
Yeah. I think to echo a lot of what we heard earlier, this idea of getting us to look more at the world again. I wholeheartedly agree with that. I've adopted this terminology called calm technology. It's the idea that instead of anytime you have a query about the world around you, the digital wayfaring that we do right now, where it's like we explore most of the world through our phone, all of that stuff will just become embedded in the technology that we wear and use from day to day, meaning that your interaction with the computer is not direct anymore. It's passive. You're actually interacting with your environment, and the computer is just helping you along the way. Two of my favorite examples of this is, one is, I call it the mouthwash, I guess, experience, where it's like, if you go into a bathroom, ideally you wouldn't want something that's on your face, tracking everything you're looking at, seeing the bottle of mouthwash and saying, hey, you're low on mouthwash. And it's just like, I'm going to add stuff to it. It's just like, okay, it can tuck that information away, because obviously if I'm going to the bathroom, I am probably not thinking about the mouthwash unless it's a very specific time of the day. And so ideally what would happen is that while I'm at the grocery store, that information gets populated and says, hey, your favorite mouthwash is on sale in this aisle, and there's an arrow that points you towards it. So you don't have to think about it, you don't have to query for it, and it understands the context and their modes of operation of when it's actually appropriate and useful for you to have that information. So that's one of my favorite examples. I know we're running out of time, so I won't give you the second one, but I do think it can transform the way we think about things, and the way we interact with each other, because we will be able to take our focus off of our devices and back onto the world around us.